Buzzkill.
He's earning his bucks.
All righty. Welcome to tonight's Science and Technology overview. And if you all would, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do I do the roll call or?
Yeah.
All right, am I roll calling just the people in the committee or each?
Just the committee.
Just the committee. All right. Speak for myself as chairman, present, and Councilman Casey. I thought you were on.
No, sir.
Sorry. All right, Council Member Casey
Present.
and Council Member Vera.
Present.
Yeah, we also have present Council Member Spain McLaren, Council Member Sorrento, Council Member Brosnan, and Council President Steele. All right, here we go. First, I'd like to offer an opportunity for public comment in relationship to the science and technology concerns here at our Troy City Council. Would anybody like to speak here tonight regarding science and technology? All righty, seeing no, I just want to say we got a lot going on here in the city of Troy. In our science and technology departments, we're getting more secure, and we're getting new processes that are speeding up the programs. And I'd like to get a report here from OMAID to what's going on here in the science and technology.
Hello.
Good evening.
Welcome, OMAID.
Good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Okay. We'd like to get a report from you as to what's going on in the in your department and how our budget looks and what our budget is here for. This year.
So this year, we are not actually changing anything. As you all are aware, I have been only here for 6 months, 7 months, give or take. I just wanted to observe the budget this year, see what do we really need and what we don't need for next year. So we'll make major changes for next year. This year, we have been able to pay all our dues subscriptions, all our renewals through the budget that was approved the year before. And there are a couple items that we may change for next year. That being said, because we didn't have somebody in my role for almost 18 months to 2 years, I believe, majority of our services have fallen very behind with upgrades, patches, as there's like a lot of hardware security vulnerabilities, software security vulnerabilities that we are addressing as we go, but there might be some areas that we may need to invest more next year to get those up to date. I'm trying my best to get as much free resources, anything that we can do in-house to kind of elevate the majority of those situations. But some of them, unfortunately, we have to invest a little bit more next year. But it's what we have been doing so far. When I started, we had a little bit of an issue down at the water department. They had a server that was semi-compromised, so we invested a lot of time and effort to get that situation under control by putting new servers and upgrading their firewalls to the newer generation. It's called Layer 7 firewall, which is next generation firewall with smart built-in malware and anti-spamware detection. And we can make accurate adjustment to those firewalls to secure the environment better. So we invested a lot of time and effort to get 2 firewalls there and new switches. And we got a better visibility at the water department, I apologize, today compared to when I first started. So those are some of the major work we have done. The police department had bought new firewalls about, I believe, like 2 years ago. They were paying for it, but they were not using it. So they were pretty much paying for the subscription and the licensing for those. But because we did not have somebody to lead those projects, I got together with the vendor and the police department, and we got those firewalls deployed, upgraded them, and that gives the police chief, the police captains, the detective bureau, the ability to view the stations and the street cameras from their home instead of them coming to the station every day if there is any issue. Also, the highway, or not the highway, the police patrol cars now have they already had the ability, but they now have it in a more secure fashion to access the city network from the road to look up a license plate, issue a ticket, and the other stuff that we have been working on is our time clocks. The city had invested, I believe, a good amount of money a few years ago to deploy time clocks. They work with a local vendor, Hayes. They bought Kronos time clock. They were set up, but they have not been deployed. So we are working on that as well to get those deployed across the city, and that will give the payroll department more accurate timing, and it will make their life a little bit easier because it comes with built-in modules that will help them calculate better and use less time to get their job done, basically. So we're working on those. Also, we have looked into 4 different ERP systems to replace KVS. KVS, unfortunately, is like, as majority of you may know, that is a very old, antiquated financial system. And my fear is I can see it coming possibly in the next few years that the people who built KVS, they're working on that program on the vendor side may reach that point where they may retire, and then there won't be anybody to support that. So we will be forced to move to another solution, and we won't have time to do it. So it's might as well do it now. So we got together with the comptroller's office, deputy mayor, and the mayor's office. We looked into 4 different solutions, from Oracle to Workday and Tyler Technology, and also KVS, the company that their parent company is called Springbrook. And we looked at a demo of all their products, and I think everybody here at the City Hall, from the Treasurer's Office, and I believe everybody who is involved with procurement were involved in those demos. They really like Tyler Technology, so that's something that we are looking at, and that Tyler Technology will make, I believe, the life of everybody easier in the long run. That provides live inventory of products. It helps with procurement. It gives you a budget forecast. It tells you if you're over budget, under budget, where you are and where you will be with your budget. So it has like smart features built in. And I believe that will help everybody across the board. Some of the key features are revenue management, tax billing and collection, utilities collection and procurement, human resources management, financial management, just to name a few of those.
Thank you.
There's a lot of other minor projects, but these were like the few big ones that we have been working on.
Council President, if I could just add one thing. In addition, we are actually meeting this week with the county DA's office and our police department and domain to take a look at our cameras on the street, surveillance cameras. As you know, it's all based on Wi-Fi. Farther north in Lansingburg, we have a tough time putting cameras down there. There's really a certain sector that we can only work with. The DA's office has visited other counties, other cities in the area, Schenectady and Albany. So we're going to have a kickoff meeting this week and hopefully potentially build a partnership with the DA's office and really take a look. They potentially, I'm hoping maybe they have some funding, but certainly the DA actually requested the meeting, which is great because obviously she'd like to see more surveillance cameras across the city. But obviously to do that, we have to expand the Wi-Fi and the capability of the network system. So I can't say enough. Omid, we were very fortunate to land Omid. He used to be with the county, then went to the private sector, came back to the public sector. He has literally picked up twofold because, as you know, we were consulting for over a year after the loss of the prior IT director. So I can't say enough about what Omid has done in terms of the pilot program with our Chronos and so many other efforts. And obviously, we're hoping to get that accounting system, which is desperately needed, underway. So he's really done a great job. I'll keep the council up to date on the DA's meeting and let you know where it goes from there.
Chair,
Any questions from the council?
Chair,
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm the chair here.
Yeah, you were.
Sorry, Chair.
You mentioned Chronos. Could you bring us up to date on where we are with that?
Yes, ma'am. So I was myself and Mike from BIS. We were working with Dylan and his team to get those deployed. We had to get an approval from the union reps to make sure that they are okay with that. So we got all those approvals. Everything was set to go. And then Dylan departed. So we felt like we should wait until we have a new comptroller so we can proceed with his direction. But I believe we are at a point because me and Deputy Mayor have been in contact like almost weekly regarding that. So I think we're at a point that we can deploy those and get those time clock in production. We are currently in the testing phase. We have a majority of the people or the users who are in the City Hall network are testing it. So we can, I believe we are ready. We just have to, we already have purchased a module that will integrate the time clock, the punched in time to KVS. So that piece was missing that we purchased and it's there now. So I believe maybe another couple of months.
How will that be impacted if we switch accounting systems? Are they compatible?
Absolutely, yes. Tyler Technology and Chronos, when I was at the county, same system. They're very much, the vendors, they work very well with each other. Their applications, their software work very aligned with each other without no problems.
I have a few questions on line items, if I may.
Go ahead, Council President Steele.
Also, once we get the Tyler Technology, we won't be, obviously, we will migrate away from KVS, and we have a bunch of other services that part of KVS, for instance, ExpressPay. We also have in-house servers that host KVS. So we are in charge of maintaining it and patching it and updating it and basically safeguarding the data. So that would be all additional costs that will be going away once we migrate to Tyler technology.
Thank you. Do you have a budget in front of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. On page 72. Could you explain the consultant services, please?
Yes. So again, these numbers were transferred from the year before, and I believe Quinn and the director prior to him were also had some of the solutions that were hired. I mean, they were hiring consultant to take a look at it. For instance, our environment right now, we have VMware, which controls basically all the city servers. And that is very, very old. Like we are above possibly like 3 generations behind. So in order to bring that up to the new version and then upgrade all the servers, we may need to hire a consultant to work with us on this and get us up to that most current version so we can be more secure. We probably could do it, but it's just one of those things. If something goes wrong, it could bring the whole city down, and it could impact all the operations basically. So we need consultants, somebody who specializes in VMware, to come and give us their expert opinions and how would they do it so we can get that done in a better professional manner. When VMware was purchased, I believe 2 years ago or 3 years ago here at the City Hall, Quinn, I believe, worked with Dell to buy those hardware, and then their engineers were here at City Hall working with him to get those servers migrated, upgraded, and set up for us. So that was so that's what most of the consulting services are. We try not to do it a lot, but sometimes you run into that gray area where you're like, would you rather do it yourself to save money and then bring the whole network down for 2 days, or have a consultant come and do it without downtime?
So do I understand you pretty much use the same consultant amount that had been previously there?
That is correct, ma'am. And it has decreased by, I'm sorry, $10,000. It has decreased.
Is that based on your current consulting needs, or is it based on what was budgeted prior?
Based on current consultant needs, because as I mentioned, some of the stuff we try to do it in-house without hiring a consultant for it. And a majority of the stuff that I've been working on, it's been not touched for 2 years. So that's where that complication comes in, because a lot of stuff, they need to be upgraded in a phase, like version by version. And we are so far behind now that we have to do an overall upgrade. So it's very tricky, very tricky. That's where, but we're trying to not use a lot of it. And that's why we deducted the money by 10,000.
On page 74, if we could just go through, I just had a couple questions about the some of the positions. It looks to me like, and correct me if I'm wrong, you have a vacant data analyst, and
Yes.
and so you're budgeting for that. Where are you in the hiring of that?
Actually, me and the deputy mayor, we also talked about that as well. Right now, I'm not sure. We're trying to find that somebody who's familiar both on the desktop and help desk side, plus the network side of things. So I'm like, yes, yeah. So debating somebody who can help me and also the help desk with the work. So that's where I'm kind of standing. Like, we're trying to find out the qualifications for this position, like the job description on what the city is, like what job description this posting is under, and we try to modify it and see what we can find with that salary, so it can be basically a bridge between help desk and network.
And just council president, that position is deferred until June. And kind of like what Omade was saying, he's done, echo the mayor's compliments as well, just done a phenomenal job. Continues to, get more bang for the buck while improving our information infrastructure, which is so crucial. You see local municipalities go through hacks, different things. So, great job, Omade, and great team, really a great team, a team that helped a lot actually putting this budget together in some of those late hours that we talk about. But I think because conversations me and Omade have had as well, he's doing such a good job that some of the staff are, it's kind of, they're settling in on finding what their niche, what they're capable and everything. So that's why we chose to defer this spot. It's crucial to help, especially to get somebody in there that could, down the road replace somebody on the next level in the department up. But while everybody's still, working, figuring out kind of getting those roles down, that's why we felt comfortable deferring it for now.
And Omade, the program analyst is showing an increase. Is that a step or is that a,
That's Mike. It's a step. Yes.
thank you.
You're welcome.
That's all I have.
Any other questions?
Chairman Keel. Well, Sue really asked, there's not a lot here, Sue answered. I just wanted to say thank you. You've been in front of us a lot. You're really bringing us up. That's what youth does, bringing us to where we got to be not only functionality, but security. Thanks. And you do get high praises. People in the county talk very highly of you. I'm glad to see about the Kronos going forward. I went through the implementation of that at Troy Housing, and I thought it was smooth, and I thought it was a lot easier. And I'm sure everybody involved thought it was a lot easier, people in charge of different departments. Now, I just want to ask you, you said the servers were like 3 generations back. How many years would you think that is?
So we have 4 data centers, technically speaking, here, Troy PD, Fire Department, and Water Department. 3 of the 4 are pretty much, I would say, like 6 to 8 years behind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Now, is that data communications analyst position, was that previously filled and then somebody retired, or is that what happened?
I personally don't know, but from the stories I've heard, he left. I believe.
Yeah, just
The person that was here, he left. Yes.
okay. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
But sorry if I could just I wanted to add one more thing. And I thank you everyone for approving it. First of all, the grant that we're getting from New York State for the cybersecurity application CrowdStrike, that we have a kickoff meeting for that project on Monday, and that project will roughly cost $115,000 for 3 years. That will be covered by the New York State cybersecurity department. So it's not going to cost us anything, and they're going to give us the cutting edge cybersecurity application, which will more secure our network. The application has been proven to stop ransomware and any malware, any bogus activity in the network. So pretty excited to get that, and we will be pausing our current subscription, which will save us $45,000 to $50,000 in the 3-year mark that we will be on the new ADR system. We are also working with the federal cybersecurity agency, and they have provided us with a lot of cybersecurity tools. They monitor our network daily. So we're trying to jump on other state-sponsored programs to save us more money. So hopefully by next year, we'll have a much better idea of overall picture of it.
Chair?
Council members, Katie McClung.
I just had a question about office equipment. It was previously budgeted for 90,000 and we're going down to 0. Is that? You don't feel like you'll need that line item?
Page 72?
On page 72, 301.
That was the prior. and
201.
It was budgeted for that in 23.
Oh, okay. So it was budgeted 0. Okay, all right, sorry.
Okay,
I
no.
misread it.
Chairman Keel?
Councilmember Case.
Yeah, this isn't budget related, but I did, since we have you here, I did want to ask you that because you're talking about security. And we've seen like in Albany, different municipalities that had their software locked or broken into. Do we have a plan if something like that happens to Troy? Just a quick, do we have a plan?
We do.
Okay.
If you want me to explain it to you.
No, just one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Don't give away the secrets.
I'm not going to get any more into it.
All right,
How
yeah.
exactly do I do that?
We don't want to help the hackers.
I just didn't want to hear, no, you never really thought about it. Thank you.
By all means,
Yes.
if you want me to sit
No,
one-on-one
that's
with you,
okay.
I would more
As
than
long
happy
as
to.
you, I trust you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Chairman Keel,
Councilmember Beer.
I see a slight increase under dues and subscriptions. Is that for the New York State grant funding that you were referring to? It looks like just over 40,000.
The decrease of 10,000?
No, that's for consulting services. The line above it, it's a slight increase.
It doesn't reflect the savings.
It was budgeted at 257,000 and it's going up. To
Oh,
300.
sure, yeah. So unfortunately, a lot of our subscriptions, things that we have been using, they have gone up a lot. I've been getting a lot of heads up from our partners that we work with, that there's going to be a slight price increase for next year.
Okay.
Like for instance, we use Barracuda for email filtering.
I'm aware.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You guys are. That has gone up 12,000
Okay.
this year, and the product that I was mentioning earlier, VMware.
Yeah.
It was owned by Dell. It's bought by, and now they sold it to Broadcom. Broadcom pricing model is going to be out next year, and they're expecting a three times price hike on all the licensing.
Wow.
So yeah, unfortunately, like there's no other alternative to look into.
And then I had another question regarding, I suppose it's not budget related. You were talking about cameras and connectivity issues. Have you considered looking into some of the features that the new street lighting system has in maybe providing service?
Yeah,
that?
so we have looked into a few of those. One of the points that I try to keep in mind is like the police department have been in business with this vendor for a long time,
Mhm.
and I just try to be very respectful and not steer them away from it. So we are working with them. They have other solutions as well, but yes, we are looking into. I have looked into a couple other products, but they are not really as robust as we would want them. The DA's office, I believe, have looked into Schenectady County or City Hall, and they have a solution that they will be giving us a demo tomorrow.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily mean the cameras. I know that the police department, they have their own system. I just meant using the street lighting system to cast a network, help improve.
Yes,
connectivity.
absolutely.
Okay.
We have, yes, absolutely have that in mind.
Yeah, so they can use their own system, but it
Absolutely.
would be able to extend
Um,
data.
I work with T-Mobile. T-Mobile currently provides video surveillance for the New York City municipality,
Mhm.
and they provided us a few options from using the pole lights. Yes,
Excellent.
absolutely.
Any other questions?
No additional questions.
All righty. Thank you very much.
I would just say thank you. Thank you for all you're doing.
Thank you
We
very
really
much.
appreciate it, and thanks for tonight.
Thank you very much for your support as well. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
This portion of the Science and Technology meeting is hereby coming to a close. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move. So move.
Second.
Second. All right.
Oh,
Adjourn.
ex officio? I can't do it as ex officio? Oh, come on. Oh,
Motion to adjourn.
All right. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second,
let's-
All right. So it is
adjourn.
adjourned. Thank you.
Bang your gavel, make it official.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
And I'm passing this on.
The torch, she's passing the torch.
Pass that torch. That picture I sent you. That one.
And I said, yeah, I'll do a wedding this weekend. Jill Coffee. I know what Jill Coffee is. I'm like, oh, I find it rich and coffee.
Yes, that's. The same thing.
Gotta be a cool town.
Yeah. we're good.
Is 6:03. I'm going to call to open the planning section of tonight. If everyone wants to stand up and do the pledge of allegiance.
United States of America. Under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very exciting.
Roll call. Councilmember Keel,
Present.
Council President Steele ex officio,
Present.
Councilmember Vera.
Present.
I am also present. Councilmember Casey, Councilmember Spain McLaren, Councilmember Soriento, all present as well. Perfect. Good evening, Randy. Thank you for joining us. You have any overlay before we start? Okay, use the microphone, please.
It's a
If
technology
you
thing.
don't mind. Okay, can you hear me now? Is it,
I don't know. If I
I
did.
can't tell, is it, you might have Is to it like okay? bring
You
it
might
right
have
to
to
your
move
face.
it closer.
Okay.
Okay, so in terms of the planning department, which consists of planning and economic development, and also going to be speaking on behalf of housing and community development. Carolyn couldn't be here tonight, so we'll do our best to answer any questions you have. But overall, in terms of the planning department, I would just say about the budget is that it's a reflection of our current focus, which is really, I would say, perhaps to differentiate it from the past, really focused internally more on getting our house in order, focusing on what we have currently, what we need to get done, what projects are already in the pipeline, and how we can best manage those projects. And I just would differentiate that from maybe the past where there was perhaps a more outward focus, maybe some more time spent on developing new projects, which is an important focus, but sometimes you can't do it all at once. So this budget is a reflection of that as our priority right now in terms of moving forward.
Perfect, thank you. You want to jump right into it with planning and economic development? Want to just run through that?
Sure.
Does anyone have any questions about your budget so far?
Sure.
Councilmember Soriento.
I have a question. What is premium pay? Nice.
It's
Is it
a
a stipend? Is it a stipend?
stipend.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I was just curious
Yeah.
what that is. Because it could be a lot of different things. That's all I had.
Chairman Brosnan?
Councilmember Casey.
I'm sorry, it's not budget related, but I did, well, sort of, I did want to ask if there's any thought for you or the mayor, the deputy mayor about the grant coordinator position, not of course this year, but is there a thought in the future there might be a need for one or?
Definitely. We have talked with department heads because, as you know, several department heads do their own grant writing, do their own coordination within that department. Others don't. So we do want to look holistically at all the departments in terms of a grant coordinator for certain departments that might be just needing assistance to coordinate various grants, because we have seen a shortfall. We get the grants, especially in the planning department, as Randy mentioned. The prior administration did a great job getting grants, getting some projects started. The problem is some of those projects have stalled. So our focus right now is getting those projects on track, making sure those projects get finished, not jeopardizing state grant or federal grant funding. And that's what Randy is really focused on when he talked about like getting the house in order, getting projects on track. So over the next several months, including this year, we've really been focusing on getting those projects back on track. Regarding the grant coordinator, absolutely not the right time right now in terms of today, but definitely down the road. I believe if we go to the position, I think we deferred it until April maybe, or maybe not. Okay, it's not budgeted yet. So we do want to talk to other departments who also need coordination with their the grant coordination, not the grant writing. So we are focusing more, not just for planning, but the departments as a whole as one coordinator for many departments.
Thank you.
So the funds might not come out of here. We'll talk to other departments, but it is something we do want to talk about next year.
Thank you.
A similar train is the senior economic development technician. Is that something that you deem isn't necessary for this year, since it's not budgeted for this year or this upcoming year? I'm sorry.
Maybe Randy could talk about like the plan for next year. I think that would help us.
Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of, it's planning and economic development. And so in terms of the overall picture, we are, at least on paper, looking like we're losing a position, but we're actually gaining a position in terms of where we're at right now. We have 5 people and we're proposing the budget for 6. The changes that we're proposing to make are to do some upgrades of existing staff and to focus on getting an additional planner in, to have an assistant planner and then a planning tech as support for that planning side of things. On the economic development side, we're with the way we're trying to operate now, we feel that we can get by with without that position, the senior economic development technician. I think that ideally we would have more staff. You can do more with more. But we believe that we can get everything that we need to get done in both planning and economic development with the budget that we're proposing.
Chair,
Council President Steele.
um, on the new planner that you're adding, is that from day one, or are we deferring that as well?
It's
January.
Thank you.
Chair.
Councilmember Spain McLaren.
I just want to say that I am thrilled to hear that we're adding staff to the planning department because I know how badly, how badly that's needed, how much they were, how much has been on their plates in your department. I just had a question. Last night, Mayor, you mentioned something about using consultants to do some of that grant writing. Is that the case in this department? Rather than paying benefits and having someone full-time, that you're actually saving some money using the consulting? Is some of that?
Yes.
Is that why this consulting budget is the way it is?
Correct. The person we hired worked for pennies. It was pretty impressive, but Bill Rohr did do an application for the CFA. He did the Nick Pool. We haven't heard back on the CFA yet. He did that application in conjunction with the planning department. Also, he did the Nick Pool, which we were successful on. And then, as I mentioned last night, you'll hear at DPU, we have CDM helping us on the outside for public utilities with grant writing.
Thank you.
Councilmember Vera.
So that's the $25,000 expenditure out of consulting services was for that grant writing for this year?
No, I believe Bill Rohr's position was not. No, the consulting services is a line item that is used for a couple different expenditures. One of them being the bike share program, the CDTA bike share program. There's also, I believe we use that line item for building blocks, which is a technology program that is badly needed by us as well as others in the city. And so I think those are the two major expenditures out of that.
Okay, so building blocks comes out of consulting services and not dues and subscriptions?
It's one or the other, but
Okay.
those, I do know that for the subscription for building blocks is coming due. And that's going to be, if we do it on a year-to-year basis, I think it's like 18,600 per year. Or if we do a 2-year subscription, it's 36,000. So it would have to come out of that 57,000 line item.
So then what's coming out of dues and subscriptions? I just see nothing's been expended in the first 6 months. Just
Dues and subscriptions, I think there's a subscription for the tree plotter program.
that's
another
the
tech-
urban
forestry.
Yeah, okay,
Yes.
And then going back to personnel briefly, so how many, there are currently 7 open positions, 1 is being eliminated. And that includes 5 staff members then that are currently in the department?
Well, two are being eliminated. The federal and state coordinator and the senior economic development technician. We're proposing a planning position.
Mhm.
And so if all those positions get filled, it'd be 6. And we're 5 now.
So looking at that list of positions, who I don't see a clerk or somebody to assist with the day-to-day office tasks. Is that a position that
That's that would be
eliminated
the planning
previously?
technician.
that would be a planning technician?
Yes. But to be honest, we all kind of chip in on
Okay.
day-to-day tasks.
So that would be the individual that would be doing payroll and things like that, the planning tech?
Well, the planning tech, my vision would be more that person would be the primary support person for the planner and the assistant planner on matters relating to the zoning board of appeals and the planning board.
Okay, so you'd have three individuals managing those two boards instead of the two that we have currently?
Correct.
Excellent.
The council member, if I can jump into the part of that as well, is getting more involved and kind of creating more cohesion between, say, the building department and the planning department, so that the new planner could really dive into that much more. So just help coordinating everything. As much as that the planning technician will be there for support too, it's really good because it allows the person that's now doing some of that to dive into some of a little deeper into the planning process, which will be helpful.
And I would even add to that to get the planning board and the zoning board of appeals sort of working. They've always worked together, but this will formalize that by trying to make that more planning and zoning versus planning board, zoning board of appeals, and have it the one planner sort of overseeing that and sort of mentoring the assistant planner and sort of making that cohesion that the deputy mayor was talking about, just within planning and zoning, but also across departments with building department.
Yeah, I understand we had some issues just simply with vacation time and things like that, where staff wasn't available. Staff familiar with the process wasn't available for a given meeting.
Yeah, it would,
Not in the last,
Yeah.
talking previously.
this would build more institutional knowledge across both.
Almost set.
Chair.
Mayor.
If I could build off the deputy mayor and Randy, Seamus and Randy, one of our goals, you are going to once again hear a constant theme, and that's coordination and just getting departments to not just work with each other, talk to each other, try to utilize resources, share information with each other. And we continue to try to build that every day since we began. I can't say enough, Randy has really been focused on the in-house and, really focusing on looking at the department for the next year, 2 years, 3 years. How can we really get it running and get these projects, many of them, really large impact projects in our neighborhoods finished. So we're really trying to focus on that coordination, especially with code, planning, zoning, and engineering.
One additional question.
Yeah, Councilmember Mayor.
Randy, will you be available for the discussions regarding the capital plan?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So we can cover that.
I was
Yeah.
going to answer before the mayor did, but she made it clear.
Okay. And then final question, is there anything that you think your department needs that was unable to be included in the budget that's in front of us this evening?
Right now, I think we're good. I mean, I think this is laying the foundation for, again, back to the theme, get the house in order, get what's in the pipeline managed properly, and there will be opportunity for more growth. I'd say in the city of Troy, which trickles down to the city and the planning department, and we'll be better positioned to manage that growth at that time.
Excellent. Thank you.
I just have, it's not a budget question. I'm just curious. We've seen a lot of businesses leaving of recently. And so just wondering if you've had conversations about strategies to overcome that.
Well, businesses leaving, that's a big issue. But in terms of what we can do and our strategy, in terms of our focus, it really is on focusing on technical assistance to existing businesses. That's like a real key focus for the economic development side of the department. And to the extent that that businesses need, let's say, financial assistance, we do our best to make referrals where those referrals can be made, particularly with business programs with Empire State Development and other agencies at the state level. But, with the resources we have, we can, the IDA focus, as as you're on the board, that's for sort of new project development. It's not as much focused on how do you keep businesses in operation, or what can we do as city staff to help businesses stay in the city. I think that one of the best things we can do is the technical assistance side, be a resource, help them through whatever issues that they're going through that the city can have an impact on.
Chair,
Mayor.
if I could add to that also, I mean, yes, some businesses have closed over not just the last year, the last couple of years. We know that the climate's tough. We know goods, services have gone up dramatically. We also know the restaurant business particularly is having a tough time right now. And that's not just in Troy. It's throughout not just the capital region, the state, it's throughout the country. But saying that, as Randy did mention, I think one of the focuses, the economic development department in terms of that technical assistance is huge. I've talked to Danae. Danae now is in that position. And I think, as mentioned earlier, that prior, a lot of, big picture things like geothermal, which we love, and other things. But we also need to pay attention to our hometown folks. We need to, yes, new business is good, but also the businesses that are here. We're having Danae reach out to various businesses to see if they need assistance, not just financial, which we have minimal, but technical assistance. We still have the LDC, the ARPA grants, they're in action. Some have closed, some are still in the works in terms of closing those projects. And then lastly, we have had a number of businesses recently open. Yes, unfortunately, sometimes the press focuses on the businesses closed. We've had a number of really good businesses open, unique businesses. And not just downtown, but all throughout the city. The core, though, we have to keep our streets safer and cleaner, and we have to obviously make it affordable, and we're doing everything humanly possible to do that. This budget reflects that. Our Troy Police, you're going to hear at the public safety meetings, stats are down, getting guns off the streets are up, saying that we're going to continue. And obviously, when you hear from General Services, our efforts with the Quality of Life Action Task Force. So keeping our streets safer and cleaner is obviously a part of that. Some of it's in our control. some of the climate that we're seeing with some of the businesses closing have been out of our control, but we will do everything humanly possible to hold their hand, to keep them in Troy and to get folks to invest in Troy.
Thank you.
Chair.
Councilmember Bear.
One final question. Has there,
Final.
has there been any consideration to reassess the fees that are charged for planning and zoning by your office to help with rising costs?
I mean, I haven't focused on that.
Oh, okay.
Comfortable moving on. Oh, Councilmember. King.
Just real quick, I did want to say, you know, it is true. I mean, friends of restaurant business. My family was all in the restaurant business. It's just a tough business. You open, you have great intentions, and it doesn't work out. I don't think it's a reflection on anything. But I just want to say though, over the last 9 months, for information for myself or even developers or to check on a project, I've stopped at planning. I didn't announce who I was. Everybody, they couldn't have been any more helpful. I really was surprised at how helpful they were. You know, open the door, bring me in the back, show me the maps. Great staff. Everybody was really, really good over there, and good reflection on the city. If people go there for something, they're going to get, you know, a good idea of, you know, how good your office is. Thank you.
Thank them.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, it makes my job easier.
Let's move on to the zoning and planning board budget. It's pretty straightforward.
No.
Chair.
Councilmember Spain McLaren.
What would temporary salaries in that department be, or those departments?
I'm sorry. I was-
Temporary salaries in those departments?
Yeah, that's just the board, not just the board members. That is the board members.
That's the next page. It's the total of all the salaries for the,
Oh.
just like the auditors.
Oh.
Was temp.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on this one? Councilmember Bear.
I do.
Any
I do.
good questions?
Chair.
Councilmember Bear.
Yeah, getting back to my final question about fees. You know, I see that, you know, we've spent, you know, I mean, it's not a big amount, about $300 in postage. The new budget's not going to cover that. Is there any thought into having applicants cover some of these costs? You know, again, in my experience, that's typical of other municipalities. When there's noticing requirements, certified mail, the applicants typically pick up the cost of that for their projects. Has any thought been put into that?
You know, I haven't focused on that. I mean,
Okay.
I sort of had assumed that whatever fees that we charge sort of is designed to in part cover expenditures for managing the boards, but you know, we can look closer at that.
Yeah, it also can take the burden off of staff to have applicants be responsible for those noticing requirements.
Yes.
And I'm sure Deputy Corporation Counsel could help with an affidavit that they would file. I am aware.
I mean, you want me to say something, right?
Anything else? All right, let's move right along to planning / CDBG.
Chair, I
Mayor?
just want to thank the council president for turning the heat down. Thank you.
Do our best. We want to keep our mayor happy. Yeah. Right, this is a budget hearing after all.
I was gonna ask about the consulting services.
That was one that I had mentioned last night. I called the head of CDBG and I asked her during the budget what that was used for, et cetera. And she had stated it was used in a couple of years ago, carried over, not to be used next year.
Perfect. I like that.
So nice 40K savings.
Good to see.
Sure is.
Chair.
Councilmember Vera.
Temporary salaries, that's project inspector. That's what that's for, right? Okay. And then I see some salary savings. I'm assuming those are just deferred step increases that happen throughout the year. Oh, sorry, I was looking at a real. And so I know Carolyn can't be with us this evening, but she was consulted for the preparation of this budget, and I don't know if anyone can speak for her, but she didn't have any concerns about this.
I mean, I talked with her and no specific concerns in terms of the budget items or the staffing levels.
Like zeroing out training and travel and consulting, no. She had no concerns about that.
Yeah, none that were
Okay.
expressed specifically.
Questions?
Here are no further questions. I'd just like to thank the planning department for everything they're doing. You guys are doing phenomenal. The city's coming into its own every day. And appreciate you, all your work. After that, motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
It's
Adjourn.
Vera, seconded by Councilmember Keel. We are adjourned.
6:35.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you.
We're break here. We're gonna wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll wait.
I wanted somebody to say, yeah, we can just go.
If the mayor's called, maybe we should change it.
That's not on you.
I came in early. Yeah, what are you gonna do with that $7
I'm in all the committees.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us with the Troy City Council Public Utilities Budget Committee meeting. If you can all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Councilmember Casey. Councilmember Vera.
Present.
Council President Steele ex officio. Present. I am also here, Councilmember Soriento. Also present is Councilmember Keel, Councilmember Speen McLaren, Councilmember Brosnan. And we also have Mayor Carmela Mantello, Deputy Mayor Seamus Donnelly, Gabrielle Mahoney, our city treasurer, Andrew Golden from Public Utilities, and Nate Panisi from Public Utilities. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. And we also have our Deputy Corporation Counsel, Rick Morrissey.
Evening, council, long time no see. So I just wanted to kick it off first and foremost, Russ Reeves, our engineer, and also who is the
Bless you.
the combined, the superintendent and commissioner of the public utilities is at a licensing class right now as we speak, water licensing, very important. So he was unable to make it. We almost switched it and then we decided to go forth with it. It was already scheduled and unfortunately conflicted with his. You know, as you know, we came into office, second week into office, we found the leaking pipes, the valves over at the Eddie's pump station, declared an emergency. You will hear an update of that this evening by Andrew and Nate. But very quickly, a phase project, they immediately stopped the leaking, which was huge, 14,000 gallons of treated water that was leaking every day. Replace those various pipes, replace the leaks, contain the leaks. The bigger issue is a very complex issue. I'll let them talk about it, but they have been working on the second and third phase of that project. So they'll give you an update on that. As you know, lead pipe replacement, huge priority for all of us. We were very fortunate to receive the nearly $13 million from the federal government. Thank you to Senator Schumer and folks. And EFC, DOH, John McDonald, Jake Ashby are helping us now try to iron out process. I must tell you, the folks up here, oh, you'll get the check within 7 days. Andrew can attest it's much more complicated than that, and it's much more than the 7 days. But saying that, we'll keep you in the loop on that. But our folks have been meeting with EFC, and we want to thank John McDonald and Jake Ashby and EFC and DOH for spearheading that. And we do continue to meet with them. We've met with them twice already, so more meetings in the future. We have not officially received the money. We still are sending paperwork back. So, you know, folks out there who think, you know, that nearly 13 mil ends up being wire transferred to our accounts. Doesn't happen that way. The good news, the governor did announce recently of turning some of the 0% loan into grant funding. Obviously, grant funding much more accessible and easier to obtain than 0% loans. So saying that, that's good news. But like I said, the streamwork process of the actual paperwork, that's being ironed out as we speak. So on that front, just to give you an update, lead pipe replacement, we did submit, the deadline was this past Tuesday, and we did submit our inventory. It's over 54%. So we ended up, more than half, which was great. I must tell you, our folks were out there to this very day where Andrew actually picked up 3 more people today. It certainly doesn't, happen these last 45%. You should know we're going to continue on that inventory. But also, Seamus even mentioned this evening that some of the monies we received, it's called pothole identifying, which Andrew will talk about, is actually even more advantageous when getting that inventory than now, the door-to-door and all that. So Andrew will talk about that. We have monies that we receive for that very purpose. As you know, also on that front, I have made a commitment to replace all lead pipes. Now, within the next 3 years and 2 months, we continue to replace lead pipes right now, right up until the ground freezes. So our contractor is out there every day during the week replacing lead pipes. We've replaced to date over 350. I'm hoping we get closer to 400. We'll see, but I don't think that's overly ambitious this year. And I think it's very achievable. So if we can hit that 400 replacement of lead pipes, and then next year, as you know, an RFP is going out shortly to hire multiple contractors for 2025. You'll see in the back of the budget, the capital plan. So we can talk about that part during the capital plan public hearing, but I wanted to give an overview. Andrew and Nate also are going to talk about the treatment plant and some things happening there. They'll also talk about purifying the water. And, as all of us know, no parent, no grandparent, no caregiver wants to be afraid to turn the water on and be afraid of lead in those water due to pipes. So we're committed to make this happen. It's a huge priority. And I will now turn it over to Andrew and Nate. But before that, I'm going to turn it over to Gabrielle.
Hello. So before we begin, I just wanted to point out something that we discovered in the printed budget. The superintendent of public utilities should be funded in the premium pay line rather than in the permanent salaries. This will have no impact on the budget, and it will be corrected in the final copy.
That's under administration.
Yes, I'm sorry, 8310. I apologize. F 8310. 224. 223.
Okay, so that's why 112 has a current budget of 60,000.
That included other stipends that will no longer continue, and the superintendent of public utilities. But yes, the 60,000 has been zeroed out, and there should be an amount in there of the superintendent of public utilities.
And that amount again, please.
50,000.
Thank you. We're gonna do the
Do you mind
revenues.
an
Are we gonna
overview
do the
from-
revenues first, or are we gonna do?
Well, I thought, and you good?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
We can do revenues if that's.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chair,
Council
Um,
President.
could you just perhaps start out for those members who are new and explain how the water rate is calculated, how you came to these figures in the water fund?
So are you referring to, Council President, the metered water sales and right?
Right.
Okay, so these are projected and off of usage per 1,000 gallons of water off the metered services, and the other metered revenues also are projected over multi-year trends and forecasts. Of course, what was taken account too was the 10-cent water rate increase for the 2025 estimates. If I may too, just because it opens up for that. So I do want to let the council know, I think it's been mentioned before, but we're definitely a huge objective in 2025 is going to be getting some, reviewing the contracts with other municipalities. As Nate and Andrew can tell you, we have meters that are not working in different municipalities. We're taking estimates. It's a big effort, something that we already started looking into, but we definitely feel that there's more money out there to be captured. And quite frankly, no other municipality should be paying a lower rate for our water than a Troy resident and a Troy taxpayer, Troy user. So that's definitely a huge objective for the water department, this administration. And I think we're definitely leaving a lot of money on the table with not having not only more technologically advanced meters, like ones that could maybe be remotely read, but also just not working. I mean, we'd even take some of the older ones that are not working in some cases. So a complete review of the contracts, what meters are working, what meters aren't working, what the process is with other municipalities. I think I mentioned also, we have contracts out there already that we realized, some of these municipalities have an obligation with the transmission line project to contribute some funding that have not. So big effort. It did kind of already start getting underway between the law department, water department, mayor's office. It's a big effort. And I think we're definitely leaving some money on the table there. So I did just want to reiterate that, and hopefully we'll be reflecting those losses or the recouping of those losses next year when we're back to see you.
Chair,
Councilmember Vera.
is that what you believe is leading to the discrepancy, or rather the difference between the approved estimates for 23 and the actual receipts for 23? I've got the 24 budget in front of me, and I see that we had estimated 12.4 million in revenue for water sales. But then, once the numbers came in, we had 11.5 million.
Yeah, so I definitely think that could be part of that contribution to it for sure. Again, it's tough when you're, if you're estimating for me what you're going to pay me, you're probably going to estimate it in your favor, not mine. And this is, it's just anybody would do it. I don't blame some of the other municipalities, but so, those are definitely things too. And again, like we know across our wide infrastructure, not just water, but it's, been let to deteriorate, not upgraded for a long time. So, and as we all know too, technology has just made leaps and bounds since then. So, we're definitely looking forward to correct that problem and recapture those monies.
So overall, again, comparing actual receipts in 22 to actual receipts in 23, and then looking at the estimates that you have, in 22, we collected 13.9 million in revenue. That was down to 12.3 in revenue in 23. you guys feel comfortable with the $14.1 million estimate in revenue going into 25?
Yes, okay, I'm sorry, I'm focused up top here on the on the metered water cells, so I was like.
Yeah, no, I'm looking.
Wait, we're
now
at
I'm looking- Sorry, I
13.2.
transitioned to the entire
Nope,
thing now.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Because
Because
no,
revenue's declining, but you believe that to be the metering issue with outside sales.
definitely a huge part of that, yes, but like this, we leaned on to make the best conservative judgment in existing models and
Mhm.
forecasting and trending to come up with the best that the best estimated revenues. And no, we council member, we feel pretty confident that there is a lot of money being left out there.
Are there any, and last question on this topic, are there any investments that we need to make that we as a city need to make, or are these investments that we're going to push onto other municipalities? In other words, if meters need to be replaced, are they our meters, or would that be, part of the contract we have with these other
So
municipalities?
part of it would be too, and Andrew or Nate might, to correct me if I'm wrong, apologies, but part of it is that we actually even want some of these meters we want them to be our meters. Then we have control of that part of it as well. I think even some of it, even if there's functioning meters in some municipalities, it might be, do we have regular access to verify? Am I correct? So, that's a big part of it too, for sure. Yeah, exactly. If just,
they're also supposed to require to test these meters probably annually, make sure that they're reading correctly, and meters never fail where they read more water flow. They've always failed where they read less water flow. So.
Chairman,
Councilmember Casey.
could I just ask you quick on that, Nate? Just a quick question. So does the billing in each town go by the residents and how much they're charged by it's their own water meters in the house, or do we have bulk meters on our end?
There are master meters, but they're they'll be on like the Rensselaer, North Greenbush end or Brunswick end. Because typically that's how it is industry.
So we know what goes to their town and we bill them on that? Or is it billed on the?
They tell us what goes to their town because it's their meters, their
Oh,
vaults.
okay.
And we're trusting that they're doing everything right. Whereas
I wasn't sure it was just based on what they billed for each resident on their use. Okay,
these are all lumps.
Okay.
The lump costs.
Thank you.
Wholesale prices.
and just to that point too, council member, I mean, there's some of those municipalities that are charging on top of what we're charging. So they're,
Well, they get their own water departments too, right?
and there's some that are paying woefully under what we're paying, which is to track, it's just not right that Troy residents in some cases are paying more than outside municipalities.
As part of some contracts where it's applicable as well is they pay us for a transmission fee on the sewer side. So Brunswick, all Brunswick sewage has to come through the city of Troy. So we get extra money for that, but it's based off the amount of water that we sold to them.
Right.
Chair,
Councilmember Vera.
those revenues would show up in the sewer fund though, in that case. Okay,
Yes,
so those
yes,
are separate
they're
from the water.
Separate, it's the same
Right.
contract, but
We don't have anything to do with the distribution networks of these municipalities though, right? I mean, we provide them water through large diameter transmission mains. They take care of additional storage needs, additional treatment needs, and whatever their networks are, right?
correct. Yes, the only mains that we own outside of the city are the transmission mains coming down from the town manor.
Okay. Any other questions on revenues? Okay, we'll move along. Okay,
Tackle it as a whole department or just subset by subset by sub, is that what we're doing? Okay, where was it?
Did she change?
All right, so we'll move along to the appropriations. Page 216. Anyone have any questions on that? No questions on summary of appropriations?
Yeah.
We're good on it? All right, then we'll move along to
I'm sorry,
F6.
Chair. I'm sorry, just on senior auto mechanic, is that a step increase?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Oh, for garage, okay. Okay, so are we good with the garage, public utilities? Do we have any questions on that? Nope, okay. All right, any questions on administration?
Chair,
Councilmember Vera?
just going back to the earlier conversation about premium pay. That's for the superintendent of public utilities. And when I look at that line item on page 226, it seems we're decreasing that salary. I believe the council adopted amount in 24 was 99,000. Is that correct? We're reducing that?
So that's also part of whatever happened in this transfer error here is that, so that position is actually supposed to reflect the council's approved salary, but deferred to the end of the year while using the stipend.
Oh, okay. So once we get to revisions for the budget, that line
you'll
item
end up-
will be back to 99,000.
You'll start to
Okay,
see it out
okay.
there and then it will be deferred until December
Right.
31st of 2025.
I didn't fully understand that.
No,
So then,
I get it.
does that also mean that the salary savings that's being shown there, is that also affected with that discrepancy?
So
potentially?
yes, you're going to see that, change.
So then the GIS technician position, is that a deferred hire or is that January 1?
Yeah, that's a deferred hire date,
Uh,
deferred date,
until
October.
October of next year.
Yes,
That's a position that currently exists and is vacant though, correct?
correct. There are two, and there's one that's encumbered and there's one that's vacant.
Right, we currently do have a GIS
Yes,
technician.
yes, there is
I
one.
believe I've met him. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions on administration?
Just a moment, please. Yes, on Chair,
Councilmember Vera?
on line 303, other materials and meters. The current budget seemed pretty healthy at nearly $500,000. We're reducing that to 175,000. This is under administration though, so I'm not clear what that line item would have been.
If Nate, if you want to, the original budget wasn't that, but if you want to explain things.
So right now, we, because of COVID, we are behind on meters, so we have a stockpile that came in over the course of this year that will last us through next year, maybe get us halfway through next year. So we don't need a full account, the full amount that we normally would use.
So in 23, we spent $18,000 on meters, but then the last budget had $500,000 for it.
So, and I.
Was there some particular purchase that was intended?
It wasn't necessarily that. What ended up happening, the way it reflected, it was actually a PO that carried over. So there was a delay in, I want to say they were maybe originally, I don't want, not ordered, but in 2022, or that might have been appropriated, and then that PO carried over.
Yeah, so COVID caused, not only caused municipalities not to be able to install these, but it backlogged all the supply chains, and actually meters are still about 8 months out from time of order for everyone across the country, no matter what company you're going through. So we're still actually, there's still a few on that existing order that we're still waiting for to come in.
Okay, so year after year, we just keep rolling the money over. Is that what, is that?
So it's,
I'm just having,
I know,
I'm not like,
I-
this isn't, I'm not trying
No,
to trip
so
anybody
it's,
up here. I
but
just don't
from
fully understand it.
from a budgeting perspective, and I want to say if you looked in the 2024 budget, you would, and I think you might have noted you had it.
Yeah,
don't know
no,
if
I
you
have
did.
it in front of me now and I just looked
And
it
you
up and
see
it was
it's
310
is
and
it-
then 175
One
was.
at a
Correct.
time,
So
please.
then
So we're just keep collecting it because we can't place the orders? Or
One at a
or
time.
they can't be
and
fulfilled?
they roll over the PO,
Gotcha.
and that's
Okay.
reflected in
Okay.
here in the current budget. So
Okay.
that's why you see it higher than what you're looking at in 2024's actual printed budget.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So, and back to Nate's point, that's why we kept it, put it at the 175, because we're.
Right.
Yep.
Understood. Thank you.
Any other questions on administration? Okay. All right, we'll move on to pumping station. And does anybody have any questions on pumping station?
Sure.
Councilmember Vera?
This is just the utility, just the power and gas for generators, and is this, how many do we have? 3, 4?
this is just the power for the one pumping station for the generator and electrical costs, which as you can see are pretty substantial.
So is that Eddie's Lane or is that,
Yes,
okay,
yes.
that's just Eddie's Lane?
Just Eddie's Lane, with
Okay.
the other, we have a large generator at the water plant and then a few smaller ones that are not really.
Okay.
Significant.
All right, we'll go on to purification. Any questions on purification?
Yeah.
Page 230.
Chairman?
Councilmember Casey?
Before I get a question, I just do want to say, since you're here, Nate, thank you for coming back to the city. That's
Yeah.
great that you're back. But listen, when Chris left, there was a hole. Nobody knew what to do. Andrew, thank you for stepping up. You did. You did it in a big way. Nobody knew who was going to be in charge. And you said, I'll do it. And you stepped into the void. And really, I mean, we had to have somebody at the wheel and you did it. Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate that. And all I hear is good news about the water plant. Everybody, all the operators doing a good job. You know, Ann and Bill do a good job in the lab. I hear all good things, you know, and I, you know, even like in the road with transmission later, you know, Butch, just great. They're great crews. I did want to just ask, page 231, just 409 consultant services. I see that they're going up. I just want to, I think I know what that is, but also 410 training expenses, that's going down. So I just wanted clarification on those two things, page 231, 409 and 410.
For consulting services, it's with a lot of the upcoming capital work, it's all going to start with engineering consultants. So the first thing is, you know, to try to get a engineering study done for work you want to do in 2026. You need the money in 2025. So that's reflective of the capital projects that we have coming down the road that we're going to be pulling the trigger on in future years.
And there was a bigger expense in the last few years for training that it's over with, basically.
Yes.
Okay.
Nate and Andrew, can you also just talk about overall the purification, what's happening at the treatment plant? You know, some long delay projects that you're kicking in now, some other things that are happening.
I'm sure everyone here is aware that the orthophosphate had came online in July, August. But we just through 2 weeks ago, maybe even less, we got up to our set dose that we wanted to run at. And actually our wholesale communities are starting to see that carry through their systems as well. We got very few complaints, if any, really, I think, because we stepped it up so slowly. I don't think any of the citizens even noticed a difference. And that is going to also help greatly with our lead issues. Does this phosphate will protect the pipes from corrosion and will mean less lead leaching out of the interior plumbing and the service lines into people's drinking water.
And to really double down on Nate's point, we've been doing a ton of sampling. We're doing fire hydrant sampling, getting full distribution sampling. We have 5 or 6 residences that we're going to collect. Ann and Bill go from our lab and they collect 15 or 20 bottles of water from a house and, test for all sorts of analytes. And, everything's looking really good with that. So people should be confident that everything's, working the way that it should. And we'll see the lead numbers, gradually start to come down.
Excellent.
Chair. ADU to it.
Okay. Councilmember Brosnan.
For line item 303, other material, last year it was budgeted at 1.542. This year's budget is 1.487. I see that it was encumbrance 1.49. Is that going to be enough money for that? Or is there a big purchase from last year that isn't carrying over this year?
On page 230.
Yes, sorry. I didn't say
that. We're seeing that it shouldn't be, too great of a difference there, that we think we can kind of keep it to around 1,487,000. I think we started 2024, I think it was 1,180 something. And then I know we came back for a couple, adjustments with the budget throughout the year, but we're pretty confident with that number for 2025.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I believe Councilmember Vera has a very last question that he's got. And then
I don't commit to that. Councilman Brosnan actually asked the question I had, but then I did. So is that increase, is that part of the orthophosphate system? Is that the chemicals for that system?
The chemical itself is pretty expensive. So that's why we're seeing a little bit of an uptick in that, since we started feeding that in August, and then, we have to keep that going, for, several years, I would think. And that's, it's like $3,500 a tote or something. It's rather expensive.
Okay. And was there any additional training that was required to operate that system for staff?
Yeah, we had when CDM Smith we started the system, they had someone fly into town and they did a full a week-long training with the laboratory and the water plant operators on how to calibrate the pumps, make sure we're feeding the right amount and everything that goes along with it. They created standard operating procedures for us. We've done quite a bit of training.
Good.
And you said you have been performing sampling throughout the city?
Yep.
Does
out of each service area, we like to get at least 2 or 3, residences in each service area.
Do you measure the orthophosphate the same way you would chlorine? Like there's a residual? Are you looking for that?
Absolutely.
Or are you looking for something? Okay.
Yep.
And we started sampling, the representative sampling before we turned the orthophosphate on, a few months before. So we have.
Oh, so you got like a
we have
baseline to
numbers,
compare
yeah.
it to? Okay.
Councilmember Keel.
Yes, thank you for coming here today. And I know we're discussing more of the budget, but I'm getting a little bit back to lead pipes in all the mains. I'm curious, what percentage do we have in lead pipes still within the mains, if any?
Oh, the transmission mains and,
Yeah.
larger mains and everything, is all either cast iron or ductile iron.
Okay,
Yep.
very good. Thank you.
Okay.
No wood in there? No?
I don't think so. Besides for the one we have in the front foyer, I think,
Might be gone.
I did have a question on.
One last one, right?
No, I'm not committing to that. I see salary savings under personnel. Are there any deferred hirings?
A laborer, excuse me, laborer and project supervisor are deferred to June 1st. And the remainder of the salary savings is from contractual step increases.
Okay, so the water plant maintenance supervisor position that currently is vacant, that you would hire in January, but the other two positions, June. So a more general question, then, we would expect the vacancy list come January 1st to be greatly reduced because of when a position has been deferred, it doesn't show up on the vacancy list. Is that
Correct.
okay?
And yes, water plant maintenance supervisor is a January hire date.
January.
Yep.
Okay.
We want to move along to, let's see, what's next?
Chair, at
Council
what
President.
point would you be comfortable bringing us up to speed on the Eddie's Lane project?
So the Eddie's Lane project, we started off with initially this pipe, the suction line pipe coming in is in rough shape. Fortunately, it's the only pipe that feeds all the pumps that feed all the higher elevations of the city, and then further out feed the municipalities going north, south, and west. This is not something we want to fool around with. The fix is going to be highly technical and highly specialized. And the holdup now is the engineering to make sure that if something happens during the repair, we have a backup to continue to run water to essentially all of Albia, 15th Street, the east side, and then further out to Brunswick, Wine and Skill. So that's where we're looking now into putting in us installing a sort of bypass, so we have a second suction line, so we can take the one that needs to be repaired down. And at the same time, we are repairing pumps that are original 1964 to the system. We also have electronic controllers, which essentially start the motor when we tell it to start, that are from 99. So you can imagine if you had a computer and we're trying to use it from 99, what kind of shape that would be in. So,
And wouldn't Nate, wouldn't you say that when the first emergency was identified with that pump, it kind of has been like I say this expression a lot, but it's
cascade.
one
Yeah.
rabbit hole, then there's 4 rabbit holes, then so it's just, the complete, degradation and of it. It just kind of keeps, we keep discovering more and more.
yes, there's a lot more that needs to be done there than I think was initially realized when the declaration was first declared. Yeah, so we have the control valves which control the pumps when they turn on and off. The valve controls the flow going out into the system, and then these motor controllers, which are $20,000 units that tell the pump to start and stop, and those are also starting to fail frequently and are so old that you cannot buy a like replacement, nor can we really find control technicians who know how to even, those things work anymore because they're 25 years old.
Chair,
Councilmember Steve McLaren.
do you have an estimate of when? I mean, is that something that you can estimate as to when this work might be completed? To your satisfaction, I mean,
It's tough to estimate, but I would think that it's probably gonna be. Yeah, probably get the bypass in about next few months, and then we should be able to get everything going from there. The pumps and the control valves are probably going to take longer, but they're ordered and paid for already. But they're going to, the valves are gonna take, I think, 40 weeks to come in. And then the new electronic controls for the pumps that's supposed to start in the next few weeks here, and the first one should be wired up with the new system and ready to go, by the end of November, let's say, but then you have to get one working fully before you take down the other one, or else
Right.
you don't leave yourself.
does the weather affect the timeline, or does it not matter?
No,
With something like that?
If anything, the weather we're heading into will help us because water usage will be lower and we'll be able to
Gotcha.
take the pumps down and the station down for longer periods of time.
Okay. And can I just ask one more question? Where are these expenses reflected in this budget or not, because it's still an open?
Emergency.
They are not, and they would be capital expenditures. And either way, because of we're replacing assets and there's a large cost.
Yeah, and to that, to that question too, council member, it is, like we said, that initial emergency kind of, the hopes was fixing that one part of the problem. Then it just ballooned into more and more. And now, because it is such a crucial part of our water infrastructure, it's kind of, we have to follow that through. Those final costs aren't 100% known because, like you noted, it is kind of an ever evolving plan. Not that those necessarily tie back to the original emergency, but once we get kind of the full picture of it, that's something that we'll be able to come forward with too. And just another thing with that, the bypass, why that's so crucial is because it's such a crucial piece of infrastructure. The bypass before taking on even more of the effort is so necessary. God forbid, while doing the upgrades, there's a failure. We need to ensure all those folks that that depend on that water, the 110, 120,000 plus of them, that there's no break in water service, fire service, or any of that. So, that's why that bypass is crucial.
Thank you.
Chair.
Council President.
So just to clarify, we're conducting this repair work under the original emergency declaration? Or has the project changed?
It's under the original emergency.
And so is that emergency renewed periodically so that?
Do not know the specifics on how the emergency works.
So that's kind of what that's what I was saying before, is that although some of the stuff that Nate referenced that's been ordered was under the original emergency, funding came out of what the council approved out of that ARPA emergency fund as well. Moving forward, because it's not going to be a tomorrow fix now, a 2 month from now fix, a year from now fix, that is definitely something that will be brought to the council when it comes to the further spending. Although a lot of the stuff that has been ordered is under that original emergency. It just like Nate was referencing, I know it feels like a long time ago, but those delays in actually getting some of those items, are real.
Chairman Surya. Oh, sorry.
Chair, if I could add, it's probably why, and I really hate to say this, why a blind eye was turned to this project. I think some folks knew, and I hate to be the person to say this, that it's a very complex and not an overnight project. It's a very complex project, but must be fixed. It serves over 100,000 people. And, I know, a lot of times you don't want to spend money, et cetera, turn a blind eye, but, I'm very thankful that Russ brought it to our attention, but really the employees at DPU, second week, tracked Russ down and said, we got to show you something. And it's very serious. It needs to be fixed and we're on a good path. But it's got to get fixed. And, but we will come to the council with the future expenditures.
So where is the money coming from now?
The ARPA account, the
We're
emergency
still
fund.
working on under
Yep.
that.
Yep.
So this emergency declaration is open. How many emergencies are still open?
And that,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And while we're asking for information, if we could have the revenue report that was handed out last night emailed to us, that would, you said you were going to email it.
It was. We'll
Okay.
make sure you get
Thank
it.
you.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Chairman Soriano. Ju-
Councilmember Casey.
Just real quick on this, I just want to ask you, is Eddie's Lane, now you talk about controllers and stuff, are you still having to go out manually every day? And every time you have to shut those pumps down, you have to do it manually now? Is that correct?
Yes, that's,
Wow.
Right, instead of
Awesome.
remotely like you used to
Yeah.
from the plant, you have
they
to
used
go
to
out.
be able to do it from the plant, which does not necessarily fall under this emergency, but it also is
Yeah, I was just wondering.
something that
Okay.
is going to need to be addressed by a capital plan in the next few years to get those back up and working remotely.
Oh, wow.
Chair.
Councilmember Vera.
Is information systems involved in this upgrade? You're going to new controllers. Do they have to upgrade anything else? I mean, I see how this is rippling through everything. I mean, the new controllers presumably would connect to the main hub differently than these 1960s controllers. No.
Yes, so that's kind of where this came about was, the new valves wouldn't work with the old controllers.
Okay.
That were giving us a problem anyway. And then the controls coming from the plant weren't really working well with the new controllers as well. But the existing project scope as of now is just to get those back up and running with new equipment from the plant. Because it's not the end of the world that our guys have to drive down there to start and stop these pumps. That's not an emergency, but being able to start and stop the pumps, period, really is.
Any other questions?
Are we moving on to transmission? Or were we on transmission?
I think we were on transmission.
No, we're on
Are
purification.
we on transmission?
No.
We were, yes, right.
Okay.
Okay, we were in the void.
Okay,
We are on transmission.
I had something.
Now we are.
We are on transmission.
Okay, so chair.
Councilmember Vera, one last question. Yes.
No. A couple of questions. Would fire hydrants fall under transmission? Is that considered part of the transmission system? Just in my travels, I've noticed cones that kind of pop up that look to be in locations where hydrants maybe used to be. Do we have an idea of how many hydrants are in need of being replaced right now?
Right now, I do believe that, after talking to our water supervisor, Rudy, last week, we're in pretty good shape hydrant wise. We only have a couple out of service.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And that does come, we do a material bid for water, for cast iron pipes, water valves,
Okay.
and hydrants every year.
And that's included then in, is that included on this budget under other materials?
Yep.
or is that-
Yeah. So the water materials bid comes out of other materials and supplies, the 415,000.
Okay.
And also with the hydrants, they prioritize the broken ones that don't have a close backup. So there
Right,
might be
yeah.
one that has been sitting there broken for longer than no average because across the block, there's another hydrant.
Okay,
So-
it-
So we're not.
to maintain
it's not a fire
service.
flow,
is-
Yeah,
right,
it's not a
right.
fire flow danger.
I see under line 102, it seems that there's an addition of temporary salaries. Is that for any particular position, or is that just additional help? I'm sorry, that's not additional. The current budget's 20,000.
They
Just
have
bumping
a part-time equipment operator.
Okay.
That's right. Chairman Soriano?
Councilmember Casey?
Yeah, just real quick, page 235, 409 consultant services, just an FYI, what exactly that is. 150,000 consultant services.
Yeah, so 409 consultant services for any, engineering services or other consulting services for water testing and things like that in the distribution transmission system.
Okay. One other question, with all the zeros here, current salaries in transmission, I know that's just a really ongoing problem with the vacancies. We're coming into winter. It's going to be another winter of water main breaks. We're understaffed. Are we doing anything, or is there any on the horizon to fill these vacancies? Because it's been an ongoing problem. It's
Right.
nothing new.
Right. I'll just give if we want, I can do a brief overview on DPU staff. So we have 14 open positions right now, 7 in water, 4 in sewer, and 3 at the treatment plant. So actually, we've hired, I've had 2 people that left in December of 2023. We've hired 7 people in 2024, which I'm very pleased with. But at the same time, 6 people also left to find other jobs making more money elsewhere. So we're kind of like, we're taking a few steps forward. We take a step back. So I know last year at the budget meeting, we had 16 open positions. So we've knocked it down by 2. And then, 2 other people left, and then we hired 7 more. So it's kind of like a back and forth thing. It's, a little bit frustrating, I think, for everybody. But,
Yeah. Tough job.
right. You bring somebody in and you interview them, and then they're like, they would love to come here for the benefits and things, but they want more money kind of in their weekly check. And
And then it may be minus something and they're in a hole in the middle of the winter.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Also, if I could add, we've talked to like Rudy and the crews, and one of the things they feel very strongly about is they would prefer the CDL employees and the employees who have a CDL, et cetera. So in terms of laborers, they're not overly concerned, but they do want more who have CDL or who at least show an interest in getting a CDL.
Well, yeah, I definitely agree. And the other part of that too, which would tie into, future contract negotiations, are that part of this as well is that there's a gap between a laborer and the positions that do require a CDL. So instead of just kind of separating those, would be better. And you see this in other companies, or, that there's a pathway of growth within the department, so that if you come work with the city, and maybe the city, there's funding out there to go get a CDL, for us to go pay for you to get your CDL, kind of like a step series with folks, instead of just you're a laborer. You don't have the CDL, that's where you're staying. So trying to work on that for next year as well, show people a path here at the city of Troy, especially in the water department. Because it's we've all been there. And I'll take the opportunity. I can speak for everybody up here to thank the crews that go out there to these water main breaks at all hours of night and morning, no matter what the weather is. Being at many of those, like the mayor's been, and Andrew's at all of them. It's I know who's going to show up. We know the same group. That's, and I give them a lot of credit because they take a lot of pride in fixing those mains, fixing those problems. They're very territorial about our water in a good way, and you can't speak highly of them. I mean, some of them, you know, doesn't matter. I'm on vacation right now. You need the sixth guy, I'm coming in. So I mean, it's something to watch when they're out there, and we can't speak more highly of them. And you know, building that workforce up is a top priority.
Now, I have a question. Does the city reimburse for CDL renewals? We do, okay. Yeah,
Yes, just. we
I
do
mean, under
renewals.
the position that's required for CDL, yeah. Okay.
And also on the hiring front, we have started to investigate maybe how to collaborate maybe with Hudson Valley and maybe even Troy High or Lansingburg, some of the vocational schools,
Nice.
to get better qualified candidates who have the certification or the.
I believe
The 2-year
CSEA
degree.
also has a program that reimburses with, not well, maybe reimbursed with CDL tuitions.
Okay,
I did look into that
we would. we think this would
before.
work
I'll
well.
look through that again and see. I mean, I don't think it'll cover, I don't believe it covers the full amount, but it covers something.
Yeah.
Not anymore? Really? We always get the shaft.
And the flip side of the.
Sure.
The other part of that, trying to get people directly out of the trade schools or associate's degrees is these will be younger people that the salary range isn't bad for a 25-year-old, so on our lower paying position. And then, by the time they need more salary, they'll move in to get somebody experienced right off the bat. As a laborer, they're gonna.
Exactly. And we've looked at Rensselaer County through Workforce Development has funding as well available. So we even have some existing laborers that, could qualify to get that funded. So it's not necessarily paid through the city to go get their all out
Yeah.
CDL, not just the renewal. So that's something else that we've looked into. And just like Nate's saying, partnering with Hudson Valley, trying to do that in a bunch of different ways. I mean, it's not a water department thing, but same with the fire department. We coordinated with Hudson Valley. They're doing examination, preps, almost like, many of us used to do for SATs and all that. I don't even know if that's
It's
a
really
thing.
hard
I don't even
finding
know that's a
CDL
thing
drivers
anymore,
now.
but I'm just saying, yeah. So any way to try to show folks that there's a good path here to employment at the city of Troy and try to support that, we're looking into.
Yeah, and a lot of our positions in the middle and upper range pay are very specific. It's almost, aside from the CDL requirement, it's almost, you have to get somebody with experience in water or sewer already, which
That's
if
tough.
they have experience in water, sewer
It's
already,
very,
they're
very
already
tough.
locked in somewhere else.
Chair.
Council President?
Now, these employees are all members of CSEA? Yes, okay.
Yes, every position that we have open.
Okay, and that contract is
Expiring 12/31/24.
24, okay. So have we budgeted anything at all?
We mentioned that last night. It is,
This
there's
would have
not,
to come under the water fund though, correct?
these would, yeah.
Yeah.
But the other CSEA also. So we have not budgeted to date. And in prior years, once again, to mention that the prior comptroller did not budget either. And, we have to be cognizant of that, but it was not budgeted in prior years either.
It was accounted for. There was money somewhere there.
Well, I mean, obviously,
There had to be
there's-
money to cover something.
Obviously, the money will be found, whether it's contingency or another account in the water fund. I'm not sure, Gabrielle, if you want to add to that.
So in the water fund, there is an unappropriated fund balance that we have not touched.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions on transmission?
Yes, just, are we deferring? any-
Councilmember Vera?
Thank you, Chair. Are we deferring any hiring for these positions? It doesn't look like we are, but I'm just,
We are
oh, you are?
2 laborers to June 1. And there's one.
So just 2 laborers till June, every other position, January.
2 laborers to June. Did I just say June? I'm sorry. I'm gonna look up it. Yeah. June 1, 24.
Yep.
25, sorry.
Yeah.
And there's 1 contractual step increase.
Okay, so all of the other positions, January 1, or currently could be filled.
Yes, yep.
Thank you, Chair.
Very well. All right, moving along to public utilities, other water. We'll go on to page 240, 241. Does anyone have any questions on that?
Chair,
Councilmember Vera.
these are 3 positions that are currently filled and dedicated just to the lead service line replacement program.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah, our project supervisor, and then we have a data entry person, then we have an extra water lab technician to do all that distribution sampling.
Okay, and so this is the staff are they going out in the field, or is it mostly office
Yes.
work, or, okay,
Yeah, so for senior demo, that's office work and coordinating lead related, appointments for verifications and all of the paperwork that comes with that. The water lab technician is about a 50-50, processing samples back in the lab and out in the field, collecting samples. And then the project supervisor works directly with the lead replacement team, because there's a lot that goes into that. I could go on for hours and hours on as you're replacing lead water services, you have to, you're connecting to the water main. So we always want to have, a city, employee there while the contractor's touching our water mains, in case there's any kind of issue with the corporation stop. If you have, a bullhead that blows out, anything like that, it's easier to get a better shutdown and, work on a repair if you have one of our people right there. And they also, keep track of all the replacements, the addresses, inside service lines, outside service lines, all of that paperwork. And there'll be a lot more of that with the lead grant funding. All of that's very specific. It's an impressive Excel sheet that the project supervisor has to put together, so we make sure we get our funding.
so they're coordinating with the GIS technician overall for mapping and that.
Absolutely. Yeah, they work closely together.
And all of our lead service line replacement contractors, pothole contractors. It helps us off a lot with the grants, funding, and reconciling what's already been spent.
Excellent, thank you.
While we're on that, so why don't you just very briefly talk about the pothole survey?
Yeah, so we have a $572,000 grant from the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund for potholing to get our inventory numbers. So that's late this fall, we're going to be able to do some of that work, and then into next year.
Sorry.
Yeah, do you need power? I got a extension cord right behind me. Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I believe it doesn't take anything down.
Oh, God.
No. Wait.
No, it comes out.
Oh, boy. Here we
Let's
go.
go up that way. Sabrina, this is where you wanna go up. Near you.
I don't know.
This
I don't want to unplug anything that's
No.
in there.
All right, never mind. Apologies.
How many people does it take to?
It might, yeah. Just don't trip over it.
Oh, there you go.
I knew we had one over there. It never lived. We almost did that. Was it attached to my van? Is the van still there?
Moment to shine.
Emily thought I knew that.
Ryan, that was a union job. Just saying. I mean,
All right. So,
Chair, sorry, I wanted to
yes,
just,
Deputy
I was
Mayor.
gonna say this before, and I know, again, I'll echo everybody up here. But especially when we're in the other water, just talking about the project supervisor, and I'll talk about these two that are up here as well, but the coordination of not just the lead, but the paving, and everything that's going on has been such an effort, pulling everybody together, not only just involving in the paving program, but the lead. It's a lot of coordination with the contractors, with our staff. So couldn't speak highly of the project supervisor out there. And, just since we're speaking highly of people, I mean, Andrew and Nate are doing a great job. Frankly, it was great to get Nate back on here as well. Andrew definitely really needs some help, along with, Russ is doing a great job as well. But the two of them are, they probably don't have the same day ever. I mean, it's what are we working on today? And Andrew was a big part of coordinating our lead service, with the paving program, meetings, weekly on the phone always. So, just really couldn't say more about how both of them are just so committed to getting things done, take so much pride in their job, do such a great job. So thank you.
Thank you.
To add, Seamus, you forgot National Grid, CDBG also. So all that coordination with the outside contractors, CDBG, it's amazing what everyone is doing with that coordination, and everyone's really done a great team effort job.
Great. Thank you. So we are moving along does anyone have any questions on workers' comp or interfund transfers? Of course. Yes, Councilmember Vera.
Thank you, Chair.
Very welcome.
In 22, we had 54,000 of expenses. In 23, 230,000.
Where are we?
Sorry, workers' comp.
Okay.
I thought that was next. Was that next?
Workers' comp is next, yeah.
Yeah, so 54,000 in 22, 230,000 in 23. It looks like we're on track to go past that at 120 in the first 6 months. And I see that we've budgeted, which is over budget, as the budget was 50,000. And we are increasing the budget, but only to 80,000. Do we expect that trend to continue? Is this, what do we think the issue is here with the?
So that the issue is that we can't, we don't know 100% obviously what we're going to be paying out that for that year. It looks like, again, in past practices, it's been routinely kind of under budgeted, just not knowing, like you noted, council member, you could see anywhere from even in the past couple of years, 120,000, 230, you go back further, you can see nothing, or 40,000 or 20,000. So we did bump it up, modestly, you know what I mean? But it's definitely one of those expenses that's very tough to pin down exactly what you're going to end up spending.
Hopefully we don't have to spend any of that.
Right.
next year.
These expenses are basically related to injuries on the job, right?
Correct.
Are we adjusting any protocols in the field to?
So that's actually that's a great question, because it's definitely something that another huge focus outside of, I think the other night I mentioned that we'll have a risk management RFP going out, any week now. It's basically ready to go. Everyone's been so focused on the budget.
Would
But
that be a consultant, a risk management consultant?
Yep. So that would be a risk management consultant, not only just to update, what our take an evaluation of exactly where we are, but how we can improve, also help with implement those, how the staff can actually, digest the information. what are our standard operating procedures? Again, a lot of the stuff we talk about, it's easy to see a deteriorated pipe and say, okay, that's wrong, we need to fix it. But some of the things that aren't as tangible that you can't see is that there's been a lack of standard operating procedures across the board here for quite some time, or they're, in a dusty binder somewhere over in the garage. So, we need to improve on that, coming at that with the whole plan. Another, Andrew's been good on, just the basic stuff, is the staff wearing the proper protective gear, I know recently we even upgraded the type of hard hats they wear. I guess the ones that we're all used to seeing are not really what you wear as much anymore. So I know I see Rick Morrissey grabbing the mic. His safety gets him really going. So I'm sure he's been working on it with us too. So anything you have to add, Rick?
So I think Council Member Soriento can verify. With workers' comp payouts, they're not linear. It's not like you have an injury one week and you can count on having a payout
Right.
within a month. So there are scheduled loss of use awards. There are permanent partial disability awards, and all these things get litigated at the workers' comp board. It can take years. So the numbers that you see in the budget from the prior year are not necessarily reflective of an increase in injuries. It just may be that, different injuries take different amounts of time to resolve. And when they're resolved, the board makes an award and the city has to pay out on that.
And it also depends on the type of injury also, like in the type of claim. Someone just, having like a sprained ankle wouldn't be as big of a claim as someone actually having a broken ankle. And the number of days that they're out and what they're paid out for. Yeah, it fluctuates, so it's really hard to project. All right. Okay, so we'll go on to interfund transfers. If anybody's got a question on that.
Chair,
Councilmember Vera.
is there a delay? Is that why the first 6 months is
For what?
so low for the interfund transfers? Is it just that the transfer hasn't been made yet? The plan is to make it later in the year? I'm on 244.
44.
Okay, so that's it. Okay.
Usually made at the end of the year from the water fund. Just wanted you on record.
Thank you for restating that for the record.
All right. On to sewer. Anybody have any questions on the revenues for sewer?
Chair?
Councilmember Vera?
What's the line that, I see it's all zeros on the 25 budget. It was all zeros on the 24 budget. Rensselaer County Sewer District. What is that line item for? Is that the transmission line?
Sewer charges. Right?
This isn't.
Yeah. Sewer rents.
There seem to be a lot of zeros.
It's revenue.
It's revenue.
It's revenue. So I was just curious what the counties would be paying us for.
Why do we even have them then?
It's, but I also believe that part of this too is really about how we collect the fee from Rensselaer County.
So there is a contract that has lapsed. There is a contract with Rensselaer County that has lapsed, which needs to be updated.
What is that a contract for?
It's for using City of Troy sewer lines to run to the interceptor.
Okay, the interceptor's the counties. right?
Interceptor belongs to the county. But they use our lines to transmit sewage to the interceptor.
Oh, okay. So
That-
assuming
that,
this,
that may be what that is. I'm not.
Oh, okay.
100%
Well-
sure. But there is a lapse contract, which we do need to update.
So just looking in the system, it looks like it was budgeted in 2020 and 2021, $179,000, but there were no revenues that came in, so it stopped getting budgeted.
oh, okay, that would make sense.
We followed the trend.
And just going back to kind of our earlier conversation with the meters, with the water as well, that's another, another thing in the hopper conversation with Rensselaer County on that lapsed contract there, working with them on that. But just felt, obviously, like you said, going with past practices here as well, just made sense to budget zero, to not count for it when we're going into the unknown.
Any other questions on revenues? Okay. We'll move over to appropriations. Does anyone have any questions on the summary of appropriations in the sewer fund? Okay. We'll move along with workers' comp and health insurance in the sewer fund. Does anybody have any questions on that? Okay, we'll move along to public utilities, sanitary sewers. Page 253. Anyone have any questions on sanitary sewers?
It's getting ready.
Okay.
Chair,
Councilmember Vera?
what is the other equipment line item used for? I see it was budgeted at 50,000. We're going down to 10, but it also looks like nothing's been spent today. So is that for like a one-off project a previous year or something like that?
Yeah, I do believe so. I'm not completely sure on that. I can do a little bit of research, but I know that we only spent 10,000 out of that, of the 50 that was allotted. So it made sense, and I don't see anything on the horizon that would, be needed for that, couldn't come out of other material and supplies. So I don't, it was unnecessary to budget that for another 50,000.
Okay. Anyone have any questions on interfund transfers with sewer?
Chair, I just have a question, if I could.
Okay.
Yeah, on 401, utilities, gas and so forth. Looks like we're reducing it considerably, and I just curious because
Yeah, I think that fund, for the $5,000, the current budget for 2024, that was overfunded.
well,
So I think, the 1,500 would be reasonable for, 2025.
Chair. Sorry,
Oh, or-
I just wanted a clarifying question. Is that a pump station? Is that what that's for? To power a pump station?
That's power for a pump station and then the emergency generators.
Okay.
The two smaller emergency generators.
So Pine Woods or?
Pine Woods and then Shelton Avenue, which are electrically powered, but then there are natural gas generators there that
so,
have to run periodically.
so Andrew, you're saying that the estimate of 4,500 is not accurate for the last 6 months? For the
That's just what's left in the budget. So if you, Council President, if you see the prior year encumbrance
Right.
it was $1,142. If you see the first 6 months is 481. And like we've said previously, what happens here with that estimated last 6 months, you're just deducting that
Gotcha.
off the current
Yep,
budget.
yep, I misread it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on sanitary sewers?
Chair, just,
Councilmember Vera?
yeah, just the positions and any deferred hiring. Might I include on future budgets, we include a column for that.
For the dates. June 1, 25 for one sewer maintenance person and one laborer.
Deferred, one sewer maintenance person?
Yep.
Till,
June 1
okay, June, yeah.
and one laborer to June 1.
And then all other positions
Are
are currently funded and will be funded January 1st.
Yes.
Okay.
And if I could, in answer to your question, the reason we wouldn't want to put dates in is they're not fixed. Like say, Andrew came to us and said, hey, we deferred this. I need this now, et cetera. I have another position open. We might be able to save money over here. So you never want to make that deferred date fixed.
Oh, certainly, yeah, budget amendment, yeah.
So.
Councilmember Casey, did you have a question?
When we're done.
Okay. All right, we'll go on to, I believe we're finishing up on sanitary sewers, going on to, well, the interfund transfers. Any questions on that? Okay. We'll
That's
move
it.
on
Mhm.
to
That's it. Debt service.
debt service fund.
Yeah, that's it.
Any questions on the debt service fund?
Yeah, that's the Chair Soriano.
All right, Councilmember
Okay,
Casey.
I just had, because I realize it's not budget related, but you are here in front of us. I just want to take this opportunity. I mentioned to you before, you talked about CDL. I know that was a problem with the sludge lagoons. I know we received some really hefty fines for those sludge lagoons. Is that taken care of? Do we have a plan to take care of it?
Yeah, we are currently not under a consent order with the DEC for either of the sludge lagoons, so there's no money coming out for that. And we have a plan moving forward using some of the sewer consulting services funding to bring on an engineering firm to come up with like a permanent, solution for the water treatment residual sludge,
Okay.
which, is always going to be a thing, 45, 50, 100 years from now, we're still going to be making water treatment residual sludge. So
Yeah.
we need to find a permanent solution.
Right. But we're not under the threat of getting fined again or anything, right?
No, not
Good,
currently.
because that
no.
was, it was pretty big.
Yeah.
Real quick, I know in the past, Chris Whalen had bought a lot of supplies to rebuild a basin, and those supplies, I mean, is that a future plan to actually do that, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can touch on that a little bit. So we got awarded, through the corrosion control, a grant funding we got for I think it was $5.5 million and then 4.3 million in interest-free financing. That's going to be, to make structural concrete repairs and to update all of the, sludge removal equipment in those basins. So that's all going to come out of that grant
Okay.
funding.
And one last question. Sorry.
No, you're fine. No.
I don't know the actual name of it, but I've heard about it for a few years. Chris bought a boat, some kind of boat to remove the weeds from the pond up there.
It's a weed harvester. I worked with Chris on this, and the goal is to hit Miami Estates, which is near and dear to my heart. And
Mhm.
there is a plan being put together for Miami Estates, also Burden Pond, but the weed harvester would actually go out there. But DEC, you have to get permits, et cetera. So Russ Reeves, our engineer, and Andrew and Nate and others are working with DEC to get the appropriate permits. As you know, I grew up in Miami
doesn't
Estates, Burden Pond, the same thing. It's being overgrown, not only with marsh, water chestnuts, invasive species. We want to protect those habitats. We
Sure.
want to protect those watersheds. So saying that the weed harvester, the staff has been trained on it. We just need DEC to allow us to get the boats in. And I know Aaron knows, Councilmember Vera, it's not easy to get those
I'm
permits,
just
but
curious what
you know,
permit is really.
I'm not sure. Russ explained it. It's
Yeah.
crazy. I
It's because
just
you're-
want to
it's-
get the
it's- you're in
weed
the water, right?
harvester.
It's
Right, it's
exactly.
always
water,
like
Yeah.
Vegetation
Yeah.
removal. It's like a stream
Exactly.
disturbance permit or something
Yes.
along those lines. Yeah.
And it doesn't come easy, believe
I
me,
know.
like they have to submit a plan,
Yeah, yeah.
but let alone like every season, more and more invasive species, because obviously they grow incredibly fast. So it's near and dear to my heart. Burden Pond, another one,
Lots of
when
doing.
folks heard about Miami Estates trying to tackle that, they said, let's do Burden. So there is a plan. We're hopeful to get out there in spring. Right.
I tell you, I didn't know you had anything to do with it. I just knew.
I worked with Chris and
Yeah.
we were able to find some monies to purchase the equipment last year.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Chair. I'm so sorry. Just
What are you
something.
sorry about?
Well, something jumped out at me and I.
If you have a
think
question, you
everyone's,
got-
like
gotta
close
ask,
enough to
gotta
get ready
speak
to
up,
go. On 258, the interfund transfers, and this might be something that I'm just not seeing, but on the debt service fund, 998, the budget is going from, it's jumping up like $540,000. Is there an explanation for that?
So there is a formula in the debt schedule and it, yeah, the debt went up. So that amount for the sewer fund, to pay off the debt in 2025 has increased.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Just to clarify, so this is money that the revenues from the sewer fund generate that we're transferring out of the sewer fund into the general fund for debt service? Or is this debt service that's under the sewer fund?
So it's debt,
Should just
sewer,
be
it's
sewer.
debt that's out of the sewer fund that's transferring into the V fund into the debt service.
Oh, okay.
So then that way, all the city's debt, so all the funds, funnel into that separate fund to then actually make the payments that are required.
So then 900 is the transfer from the sewer to the general fund, and the 753,000 there that's the transfer from sewer to the general fund, or it says capital fund?
So that would be the capital. If you're the debt on the
Okay.
908 line, the 895.26 would, that's a transfer into the V fund, the debt service fund.
So additional monies generated by sewer that we're moving into other areas where we need them.
Well, so it's actually, it's debt generated out of the sewer fund. So just like we have debt that's generated out of the general fund, and the water fund and all those, they then funnel into the debt service fund to then ultimately pay the required debts for that budget. So it's not just to be, because it's not necessarily it's not a revenue, it's an expense, of course. That's why, so it's not, it's a specific number that's going to have to be paid
So it's
to
unlike
our
money that
debt.
comes out of the water fund then.
I think the one, well, so it's, if you were talking about the money that comes out of the water fund, which are you actually, what line are you?
Off the top of my head, I thought it was 1.475.
Okay, so that would actually be, that's an interfund, that would be a interfund transfer into the general fund.
Right, from
Yes,
water.
but that's why this is a debt service fund.
Okay, this is different than that. Okay,
Yes.
okay.
It's right.
I was just gonna say, it helps to think of the different funds, different operating funds as businesses, separate businesses. And so they have to pay their own expenses to the best we can do that. I think what the deputy was just saying is that the transfer to the V fund is to cover a debt that was generated in sewer.
Okay.
Okay? And
Yeah.
so, and then the V fund pays the debt service.
I follow. Yeah.
You follow that?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, good. good.
He said that.
No, I followed it when you were explaining it.
Any other
I
questions?
just must be tired and my face wasn't communicating. I understood.
You were looking,
You were looking like you were getting it.
That's his normal look.
Well, I want to thank you all for coming and for explaining everything to us and for all the hard work. It's definitely noticeable with all the hard work that you guys put in.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
I also want to thank Rick Morrissey, Officer Snyder, Marnie, Adrian, and Latasha. I also want to thank you guys for coming. So it's all right. Well, thank you, everybody. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.